Hi everybody, I'm Joe, and I'm here to show you how to be a player in Dudes on a Map. So, to get started, it's worth noting that you'll need to configure your name and your player color before you start. Your player color is just used to accent your tokens and actions throughout the UI. Your player name shows up and it should be your human name because as you'll see later, you can have multiple characters assigned to your token drawer. All right, so it's worth noting that players can host the game in Dudes on a Map so that the DM can join. If you're just getting started out, it's probably a good idea to click the host and try to test your connection. If it shows status of good, that means that you can host Dudes on a Map for your group without taking any extra steps. If it says local only, you could also go through the process of port forwarding and still host for your group. However, it might be easier to just abdicate to somebody else if you don't know what I mean when I say port forwarding. All right, so we'll go ahead and have the DM join our game. And we'll take a look here at our tokens. So adding a new player in Dudes on a Map is as simple as clicking the Add Token button, giving your character a name. Go ahead and call him Stan. And picking out a picture for your character. Here at this stage, you select which characters you would like to join and simply ready when you're ready to play. Your character tokens are then sent to everybody in the game, and when the DM starts, you'll see the map screen pop up for you. You don't have to click anything, and you're able to drag your tokens out onto the map. So the first thing to note as a player, you simply drag and drop tokens to add them. And you can left click and move your tokens around the map. You get a nice little movement indicator that's shared with everybody in the game that will disappear after a short period of time. There's a number of drawing tools up here. Some of them are, the rulers are private and the remainder are publicly shared. So if you're bored and monkeying around with your drawing tools, just note that you're showing that to everybody. So the basics for drawing, you have the option to disable snapping to the grid on the screen. You select your layer down here. As a player, you can only do wet erase markers. The default one, this one here, is a permanent wet erase. It gets erased but whenever you right click and drag, or whenever you or the DM clicks erase everything. You can only erase your markings while the DM can erase everybody's, so don't worry about that. You can also use timed markers, so these will persist for a short period of time before they're deleted. One of them is timed for 10 seconds, the other is for 60. So we'll see shortly that these will disappear. There goes one, and the other is 60 seconds. And we won't wait around for that. You do have the option to undo and redo as well. And if you hit escape, it will return you to your default selections, which is not drawing on the map at all and using left click to pan around the screen. You can also pan by middle clicking and dragging, or left plus right clicking. And if you zoom in and out, which you're able to do, zooming in zooms to wherever the cursor is pointing. All right. And it's also worth noting that whenever the DM updates the screen with revealed fog, for example, you will get an updated viewing position as well. So you'll always be tracking to where the DM is looking when they send updates. Moving on, we have a dice tray down here in the bottom left. Before we get there, it's worth noting that there's a button down here that'll summarize all the controls and keys that are used to control the map. So anyway, back to the dice tray here. To build up a die roll, you can type 1d20 and that will roll your d20, or you can click 1d20 and it will add that to your roll. It's worth noting that there are options that the DM can configure, such as splitting d20 rolls. So here, if we roll a perception test, say we get 2d20 plus 5 for our perception, rolling 2d20 instead of adding 2d20 as you would normally, if you have the split symbol, the hashtag, it will roll the d20 separate so you can implement, or so that you can roll advantage disadvantage pretty easily. The DM here has that configured as the default. So if you ever have advantage, you just add 2d20 to your roll and off you go. In order to subtract a die from a roll, you simply right click on the button here. If you're using a mouse, you can also scroll your mouse wheel up and down to add and subtract dice from the roll. And similarly with all these rolls here, they don't use the split symbol, and so they add together like you would expect. You can also stage multiple rolls. So say I have a decent attack and it does a d10 plus 3 damage. I can click roll and I get my attack roll is 19 plus 6 and my damage roll is 7 plus 3. And in the future, you should be able to select which character you're rolling for and save the rolls that you make to that character. So each character will have a customized little quick roll bar here at the bottom somewhere. But that is not here yet today, and it should be pretty obvious once it's there how to use it. You can also provide a reason with your string, or with your roll, excuse me. So if you want to do an investigation check, but you don't really want to interrupt the DM, you can provide a reason there. The DM will see what you rolled that for when the roll string is sent over to him. So that's the simple dice tray there. And then the last thing the player probably needs to know is rolling for initiative. So initiative rolls are called for by the DM, and the way you roll initiative can change based on the DM settings. So if you're in a standard D20 roll system, you might simply have to type in a bonus value here. Or if you're in a more complex system, you might have a full dice roll string like you see here. And if so, you will have the ability to scroll the mouse wheel to add and subtract dice just like you do down below. Here with the initiative rolls, you can mouse over to see exactly what you got. There is a rudimentary tie-breaking system built in where you get your bonus is added as a fraction. So if Cedric and Johan both rolled a 20, for example, Cedric would be, or excuse me, if they both rolled the value of 20, Cedric would get a 20.5 and Johan would get a 20.3. And then, and it's hard to point at this exactly, but we also add in a random luck factor after that to help break ties. So if you roll the same as somebody else and you end up below them, that is why. There's a bit of sorting magic going on behind the scenes. We use the bonus as the first order sort and luck as the second. And if you see that that's wrong for your game system, just be sure to let the DM know. They have the ability to edit your roll or move you up or down the initiative list, whichever is more appropriate. Real quick, we'll show what happens when your turn comes up. And there it is. You get a little check mark while it's your turn. If you've clearly finished, the DM is able to say that you're done for you. Or when you're all set, you can click the check. You also note that the player who is next gets a little notifier just to let them know that, they should start planning their move as well based on the current state of the game. So that's everything you need to know as a player in Dudes on a Map. I hope this was informative, and I hope you enjoy using the system.